Hey Gen Max, in this video we're going to be talking about death because if you're going to spend the rest of your life in Mexico, that is the spot where you're going to die. In this video, you're going to meet a woman named Lori, and her husband passed away in 2025 in Mexico. So this is her story.
Hi, I'm Lori, and I live here in Puerto Peñasco. I moved here with my husband in the fall of 2019, and we lived here for 6 months here and 6 months in the States until July of 2024, where we moved down here full time. And unfortunately, my husband passed away in February of 2025.
So Lori is going to share her story of her spouse passing away in Mexico. So that's kind of one of the big things we're going to learn in this video. But we'll also learn about the house she's living in here, the community she's living in, and kind of what she's doing to keep busy, kind of the standard things. If you don't know me, my name is Brighton, and I am almost retired in Mexico. And I'm on this channel, I bring you videos to help you move to Mexico if that's an inspirational story, or if that's kind of how people have done it before, how to pay your CFE electric bill, things like that. So let's dig in and we'll get Lori and Lyle's story, how they made it to Rocky Point here. So Rocky Point / Puerto Peñasco is an area that I hadn't known much about until I took this trip down here. And Lori is someone actually I knew back in Portland. So when I usually post to Facebook groups to say like, hey, I'm looking for someone to interview, and she popped up. And I was like, well, I guess I knew you moved to Mexico. I didn't know where you went to. So let's hear about Lori's move to here.
So my parents moved here in the fall of 95. They just came down to check it out. They drove down in their motorhome. They lived in their motorhome 6 months at a time in an RV park off of what is now Sandy Beach. Well, it was Sandy Beach then too, but it's resorts now. There was nothing there. And they lived there for 2 years. The second year, they lived in a sandstorm for 3 days. And after 3 days in a sandstorm, they said, we have to find someplace else to live. So they bought this house. And the reason why they bought this house is because it was one of the only houses in this area that actually had vegetation around it. No one would pay to water plants, and my mom was so happy to see trees and plants that she had to have the house. So they bought this place, and they quit coming down in 2011. And in 2018, my father decided he wanted to come back and said, I want to come back to Mexico if you want to go back down with us. If you want to go back down with me, but you have to take the house over. And I said, oh, please, I want to take the house over. And so we are down here now. In 2019, we started coming down every 6 months. My dad comes down in October, and he goes back in April. And we usually would stay till May or June. In June of 2023, we moved back to Oregon for the summer. We were getting our house ready to sell, and my husband got sick with cancer. And he said, well, I want to go to Mexico anyway. He continued treatment in the United States until such time as it no longer was viable to him. And he came down here and made the choice to end his life and be down here when he had his final days. And so I contacted a conservator who's here, and there are several of them in Mexico. And he took care, I paid, I think it was $350 plus $100 for translation. And then it was another $50 for paperwork. And within 2 weeks, everything was set up and established. When Lyle passed away, I called the conservator. I said, my husband passed. And within a half an hour, he was here and he took care of everything I had to do. I had to fill out the police report, and he acted as my translator. It was the easiest process I've ever had to do. I handed him the money to take care of the cremation. They called me and said, we're sorry, we won't be able to have him cremated until midnight tonight. Would you like us to bring the cremains tonight or tomorrow morning? I said, tomorrow morning's fine. At 9 o'clock on Saturday morning, they brought me a box of my husband's cremains. I couldn't have asked for a more peaceful way for things to go, and no drama, and so easy and inexpensive. If you plan it, it's very good.
I'm planning a video about dying in Mexico, so watch for that one. But this video here with Lori is in paid partnership with BetterHelp. Their online therapists are available almost anywhere in the world by phone, messaging, and video chat. If you're a follower of my videos, you probably know that I've worked with a therapist through BetterHelp. She is in the UK, and it's great to have someone to talk to who is unbiased and a kind ear to help me work through things in weekly video chats. If you want to give it a try, you'll get 10% off your first month if you use my link, betterhelp.com/almost-retired. Over 4 million people have already used BetterHelp to start living a happier, healthier life. Now let's go back to Lori and hear about her house and the community that she lives in.
I live in the neighborhood that's called Las Conchas. It was established in the late 60s, early 70s. Primarily gringo community. We have a gatehouse that will be completed very soon again. We had it for years and they took city politics. They took it away for a few years and now we got it back. It's absolutely hilarious. So we have security 24 hours a day. If, like, when the power goes out on a regular basis in the summertime, you call security, they call CFE, they take care of it. If you have problems with water, they take care of it. Before the conservator got here, security knew that my husband had passed. I had 4 security guards making sure that if there's anything I need, please let me know. And every time they drive by, they wave, and they're really wonderful. The HOA also takes care of our water for us and our roads. My parents bought this house, like I said, in the 90s. We bought it in 2018. There are 800 houses in this community, and I would say probably 75% is gringo. We are seeing more Hispanic people buying and moving in, which is kind of exciting. I prefer to see a mixture. We have a pretty robust HOA that does quite a bit of work. We do cleanups on our beach twice a year. Once a year, we're doing cleanups in the neighborhood. We also have a really great museum, Cedo Museum, and it is for the sea life here. And so, like, if you see a turtle on the beach, if there's any kind of problems, you contact them. If there's a damage to a bird, you contact them. It's just a really beautiful community. I just love it here. I am 300 steps to the water.
Las Conchas is a beautiful area. You can see here that we're right along the beach. We're just like one street back from the beach here. Definitely a lot of single family homes. A lot of them are rentals. A lot of them owner occupied. And one thing that people often ask about is medical care. And so let's hear if Lori has any experience there.
So I had my pacemaker replaced in April in Oregon. And because of the situation, I was leaving and coming here. I could not continue to use their services because I was no longer in Oregon, so I no longer had the insurance. And so they changed my pacemaker and said, see ya, you need to get somebody to check on it. And I said, okay. Go to Arizona and find someone. And I said, oh, okay. And that was like 5 months. I called and it was like 5 months before I was going to see a cardiologist in Phoenix. And so I heard through the grapevine here in town that there was a traveling cardiologist who came once a month. And I made an appointment with him and I saw him last Friday. I went in. He gave me a full EKG. He checked my heart. He sent me down for a chest x-ray. Everything was wonderful. My heart came back strong and solid, which was wonderful news to hear. He adjusted my meds. He took my information for my pacemaker so that he could track it from himself, from his job remotely. And the total cost was $105 for everything. And my copay in the United States, the last time I went, was $90.
Yes, healthcare in Mexico, healthcare should not be something that you're afraid of in Mexico because the healthcare down here is amazing and never a wait. That's the other thing, is that I can talk directly to my primary care physician at any point in time, schedule something for the next day. It is just wonderful. And another thing that you shouldn't be waiting for is to subscribe to this channel. If you haven't done that already, I would love it if you did that. I want to switch gears a little bit to a story that Lori told me when we first talked. So this gives you an idea about life in Mexico.
So recently I had to get my car worked on. I got a name of a mechanic from a friend and I called the mechanic, and through Google Translate, we determined that he was going to come to my house. Instead of me going to him, he was going to come to my house. And I had sent him a list of 4 things I needed done to the car. And he said, okay. And so the next morning I had handwritten the list. I took a picture and I sent it to him, and he texts me back and he says, well, I only do one of those things, and I can glue on the mirror. And I said, okay, thanks. Could you do that for me, please? And he said, sure. So he came to pick up the car. 2-3 hours later, he called. Oh, and I had never met him before. I left the keys on the floor. I left and I sent him a text. I'm leaving. The keys are here. And I went to what I had to do. I got back. The car was gone. Of course, he had sent me a message. Is it okay if I take the car? And I came back. The car was gone. He called me 4 hours later, said, I got a guy who's going to work on the radio for you, or I got a guy who looked at the radio. He said it doesn't work. You need a new one. Do you want a new one? I said, yes. He said, okay, well, I'll have everything fixed for you tomorrow. He came back the next day. I got a brand new radio with the rear view camera on for my thing, got the oil changed, got the mirror fixed, and I can't remember what the fourth thing was, $350. I just can't. And I called him back again to do something on my truck. And that's right, you didn't hear this story. And he, my neighbor was looking at the truck because I had it for sale, and he accidentally locked the keys in the truck. And so I called the mechanic, and the mechanic had to come and bring the little Slim Jim and unlock the car and then get my car fixed. And when he came back, he had another key made for me. He's like, here, now you have 2 keys. So the Mexican people are so amazing and will go above and beyond for you. I cannot thank them enough for all of the help and the support that they will provide. All you have to do is ask, and it's scary how wonderful it is. It really is.
Yes, I've had similar experiences where the mechanic comes to your house, the car wash person comes to your house. It just really a high service oriented culture here. So we are filming this in July, and it is a little bit hot. I have to admit, I kind of just assumed that this would be like Ensenada weather, and it is not. So let's hear about being a full-time resident versus people who come down. There's a lot of folks who come down just for a weekend because we're so close to Phoenix and Tucson. And some people do leave for the month of August. I went somewhere and the restaurant was going to be closed for the month of August because that's kind of the worst weather up here. But let's hear a little bit more about that.
So I agree, it's hot right now, and it's humid. That's what makes it hot. I mean, it's only 90 degrees right now, but the 70% humidity makes it feel a little bit warmer. Everything's really quite nice because we have this nice, beautiful breeze. As soon as that breeze drops, which will be in August, it'll go whoop, and then it goes to 85, 90% humidity, 95 degrees. You go outside, you turn on your car, you don't do anything during the heat of the day. You don't go anywhere unless they have air conditioning. You don't go. I grew up in Montana, so for me, it's like living in Montana in the winter. You go from your car to your house, you stay where it's warm, you stay in a heated car, you stay in an air-conditioned car, you stay in an air-conditioned house, and then you're happy. And that's what you do. And you do lots of jigsaw puzzles and crossword puzzles, and you paint inside, and you do things indoors.
Sounds very similar to La Paz, except for the humidity. So it definitely gets hot during the afternoons, especially. It cools off at night, just the way the wind blows. The wind blows in the summers from the south. So for La Paz, it's coming off the desert, so it stays pretty dry. But Puerto Peñasco, it's picking up all that humidity off the Gulf of California and bringing it into town. So nice that there's a breeze, not so nice that it's bringing in the humidity. So I love to have a tip for you all. So I'm going to ask Lori what her tip would be for moving to Mexico.
So my tip for moving to Mexico is plan on enjoying your life. That's one thing that I did say when I first moved here. If I start complaining about living here, I've told people, you tell me it's time for me to go back to the U.S. because this is absolutely heaven. The only other thing I would say is move here sooner. We were waiting for 5 years. I wish we had done it and that first year. As when COVID hit, we were here. I wish we'd have just stayed here. But coulda, woulda, shoulda. I'm happy I'm here now.
I hear that piece of advice so often. It's better to do things sooner and maybe have to undo it than to wait and do it later. Because, as we started out this video, you just don't know how much time you have. So definitely be prepared to enjoy life. And you can do that in Mexico. And you should be able to do that in other places too, but some of those places are becoming a little bit harder to enjoy. So I've got more videos for you though. Up here are videos of other expats, other foreigners who are living in Mexico, something perfect that YouTube thinks is just perfect for you. And hasta luego. Wish you were here from Puerto Peñasco, Mexico.